The Hunger Games franchise has no shortage of disturbing moments, but Sunrise on the Reaping's most gruesome death makes a Catching Fire character's backstory far more tragic. As Haymitch's prequel novel covers the 50th Hunger Games tournament, during which double the number of tributes are reaped from each district, there are even more deaths in Sunrise on the Reaping than there are in Katniss Everdeen's games. Some of these are more memorable than others, and the worst of them will remain with readers long after they close the book. This is because Sunrise on the Reaping's most brutal end affects Haymitch, but it's even more devastating for a prominent character from Katniss' story. It will make readers feel differently when revisiting Catching Fire and Mockingjay, and it offers further insight into their role in the rebellion against the Capitol. BT isn't vocal about his motivations or past when he meets Katniss and Peter, but thanks to his own time in the arena, Haymitch knows all about them. And after Sunrise on the Reaping's ending, they both have something in common: losing loved ones to the Capitol in truly heinous ways. Sunrise on the Reaping gives BT a son and a much more tragic backstory. Ampert's introduction sets him up for tragedy on par with Haymitch's. Jeffrey Wright as BT in The Hunger Games, Catching Fire. Sunrise on the Reaping reveals that BT has a family, and more importantly, a 12-year-old son who participates in Haymitch's Hunger Games. Ampert is forced into the second quarter quell as a punishment for BT, who is caught messing with the Capitol's communication systems. President Snow uses BT's loved ones against him, just as he does with Haymitch. And the worst part of the whole situation is that BT is forced to act as a mentor for his child, knowing that he's likely sending him to his death. Despite BT's and Ampert's acceptance of their situation, the latter adds a devastating layer to BT's Hunger Games story from the moment he's introduced. After all, readers know that Haymitch wins the second quarter quell, so there's no way Ampert is walking out of the arena. And while it's admirable that BT and Ampert attempt to use their punishment to push back against the Capitol, it results in a terrible end for BT's son. It will leave readers feeling as bad for him as they do for Haymitch, and that's saying something. Ampert's death is one of the most gruesome in the entire Hunger Games franchise. It's up there with Cato's and Finnick's. The cover of The Hunger Games, Sunrise on the Reaping with a purple background, red dots, and fire on the edges custom image by Yida Chacon. After Haymitch and Ampert attempt to break the arena using BT's plan, Ampert is targeted and killed. The Capitol sends mutations after him, and Haymitch notes that they seem specifically programmed to focus on BT's son and no one else. So, Haymitch is forced to watch as Golden Squirrel mutts tear Ampert apart, leaving nothing but a skeleton when they are finished. It's easily one of the franchise's most gruesome deaths, alongside Cato's at the end of The Hunger Games and Finnick's in Mockingjay. The image of Ampert's skeleton is harrowing, and it's even more devastating to realize that BT will be forced to see it. It's a truly terrible way for his son to die, and Haymitch has thought that, somewhere, BT's heart breaks into fragments so small it can never be repaired, makes this moment all the more gut-wrenching. BT doesn't appear to be a terribly emotional character in the original Hunger Games trilogy, but Sunrise on the Reaping's brutal treatment of Ampert makes it easier to understand and empathize with him. Sunrise on the Reaping's BT story perfectly sets up his Catching Fire role. Adding this tragic layer of depth to BT's backstory makes sense of his role in Catching Fire and Mockingjay, explaining why he's so invested in Panem's rebellion. While most people in the districts have good reason to revolt against the Capitol, Sunrise on the Reaping offers detailed explanations for why several of the tributes called for the 75th Hunger Games are so eager to help Katniss and Peter. One could hardly blame BT for wanting justice after what happened to Ampert, and it's a testament to his character that he votes against Coin's plan at the end of Mockingjay. The prequel novel also reveals that BT and his wife have another child on the way, and we see no sign of BT's family during Katniss' story. While BT's second child would be in their 20s by the time The Hunger Games begins, it's very possible that Snow targets the rest of his family after Ampert. This gives BT even more incentive to betray the Capitol years after Sunrise on the Reaping, and it makes him one of the most tragic figures to appear in the original books.